All right, some new Play Series instruments. These ones are made in collaboration with 40, who I'm sure needs no introduction. And if he does, you can go watch this amazing little documentary they just put out on the Native Instruments channel. And what we're looking at here is, I guess, a bunch of his favorite patches in a Play Series instrument. One is keys, and then the other one is drums. And they're both Kontakt instruments as opposed to a machine expansion that's meant for machine. And the nice thing about that, of course, is if you don't own machine or if you don't use machine, you can use this in pretty much any DAW. Not that you can't use expansions in other DAWs, because that is something I show off on my channel all the time. So what I want to do in this video is show you more about how to use these instruments as opposed to the sounds that are in them, even though we will look at a few of the sounds. I'm not paid to make the video, but I do get the software for free, and I have an affiliate link in the description. So if you think this is right for you, use that link and I'll get a little kickback. But make sure this is something that's right for you. So let's check out the keys first, and then we'll get into the drums. So with the Play Series instruments, if you use Complete Control or Machine, you can use the browser to hear the sounds. So let's maybe start from scratch just like that. I'm gonna get rid of this one here, and we'll go over to the browser, and we'll go to Instruments. There is 40's own keys right at the top. Oh, isn't that nice? Well, I really like that one. 40 Dreams and 40 Nights. Let's load that one up. All right, that's kind of fun. Okay, don't know where it came from. And for those who want to know the chords, I'm starting on F major 7 and then going to an E sharp 5. That kind of resolves, and do that twice. And then I go to E flat major 7 to C minor 7, E flat major 7 to a D7 sharp 5. So got some sharp 5 chords in here, which are some really juicy chords. So I've got a video on a Play Series instrument where I really dig into all of the details of this stuff. So I'm going to point you to that in the description, and that'll go over how you can click on the sound menu here and play with these two layers, modulate things, go over and use the sequencer, which is my favorite sequencer in the industry. I know that sounds kind of lofty, but the reason it's my favorite is because we can use this root key thing here and have a sequencer or an arpeggiator type thing that is bound to a key instead of just notes. But let's just see what we've got in this sound itself. So we're going to play around with this a little bit, go to the plugin on my hardware, and here we can adjust things like the balance. So let's just have a listen. So that's the piano. And this is the synth on this side. We can adjust the attack. I kind of like that attack, actually. We got resonance, width, reverb, crank it up, and then 40. Let's see what 40 is. Oh, that's really nice. Okay, so obviously this 40 control is their special control that they've got on this instrument. I bet you we're going to see similar reaction to that. They did something like this in Glaze, I think it was. Okay, so that 40 knob sounds great. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to automate that in there. So let's turn on automation and try that out. So let's start. To dig into all of the Play Series stuff, make sure you go check out that other video. So here is 40's very own drum. So right up top here, you can see a bunch of samples. And if you were to put your machine in keyboard mode, you would eventually get to those samples. So right now you can see I'm triggering something totally wrong. So let's take it down to C2. And now you can see I'm triggering this sample right here. So I take it down one more octave. And now I am triggering just the pads that are on 40's very own drums up top there. Now I can just play this just like a machine kit. So just on the main page, you can also see these purple keys. And these are just patterns. You can see that it started at 75 beats per minute, but of course you can play these at any tempo. And if we click over on pattern, we'll see that we're actually triggering these patterns right here every time we play a note. So you can either trigger it from the key and just record a note. So I could just make a new pattern right here, press record, hold down a key. Or I could take the pattern itself and drag it right into machine. And if I just drag it and drop it, it'll put it as a new pattern in the proper spot. But of course, what I could do with this now is I could go and edit this and change it up if I want just a little bit of variation. Let's put another note right there. And if you want to add another pattern, or maybe there's a fill in something that you want, instead of just dragging the new pattern onto your track, what it does is it replaces what you've got there. So you might not want that. So if you do want to work between different MIDI patterns, make sure you click a new pattern in machine, drag and drop whatever pattern you want. Okay, so a few things on the patterns in here. What's going to happen is it's going to play a pattern. And then when I switch to another one, picks up in the same spot as that pattern. Watch. Boom. So you can watch these little circles right here. And if I switch to another pattern, it's going to pick up as if we're right in that spot right there. See how it jumps to the 9 o'clock spot right there? Which is nice if you're using, say, a fill that you want at the end of one pattern, it'll jump to the end of that pattern instead of starting the pattern over again. You can speed things up by twice as fast, of course. And you can do halftime right here as well. We've also got re-trigger, which means the patterns are just going to start over from scratch. So if I switch from one to another, it starts at beginning. And then the other thing you'll notice with latch is if I just press a note, plays the pattern, press it again, it stops. If I go to re-trigger, I hold down, I press the note, let it go, it stops. Different ways of working with the loops. And then we've got input quantize, which just means the pattern isn't going to start slightly off. So if your timing isn't exactly perfect, your entire loop is going to be off with the tempo of your project, which is going to suck. So make sure you have input quantize on, so then it really doesn't matter if your MIDI note is slightly off, unless it's off by more than an eighth note, then it's going to be at the wrong eighth note. Okay, so let's go look over at the kit menu. And you can hear we've got more of a bass hit on this one, which is cool. So let's say you wanted to pitch this one down a little bit or up. We can adjust the volume, the pan, velocity curve, so how hard you hit the note and stuff like that. We can also put these in choke group. So you can hear that this crash is getting cut off by this hat, which is kind of cool. But maybe you don't want that. So all you have to do is take this crash right here and just take it out of a choke group entirely. We have outputs, so process different parts of the drum separately. We've got some controls for envelope right here if you just click that little button, and then we've got a filter. We can also go through and say, not crazy about this kick, let's try a different kick. So they've got a bunch of different kicks in here, not a ton. So let's try this one. And let's take it down in pitch. There you go. So that's how you load up different sounds. We've also got a link button right here. So if you want both of these guys to go, we're going to go link group 1 and link group 1. Now when I play one of them, they both trigger, which could be perfect. And then let's just see if this guy is in a choke group. It is in choke group A. I notice it getting cut off by something, which I don't want. I want that one to just ring out. Do you know what would be cool? Sometimes it's nice to have your bass drum stop exactly when the snare drum starts. So let's take this guy right here, put it in choke group. Let's just put it in a new one. We'll put in choke group D, and we'll put this one in choke group D only, so that this snare right here is going to stop. So that one cuts off every time it comes in. So it's almost like taking a bass note and making it perfectly timed to the snare, which is something I do all the time, but now you don't have to with this kind of software, which is kind of cool. And then we have sends on each of them too. And if we click on the effects right here, you'll see what you're sending it to. Here's our send effects, which we've got reverb and a replica on there. And then we've got global effects for the entire kit. And then we've got insert effects for each one of these little guys right here. So we could click on that, go over to insert effects, and you can see which pad we're actually on right now. So on this one right here, we could go and put some compression, distortion, tube saturation, whatever, that kind of stuff, all just on this one sound. Then we've got macros in here, and these macros are assigned down at the bottom. So just like we've got in 40 Zone Keys, we've got the macros that are preset by Native Instruments, and you could change this up. So if I go back to the plugin on the hardware, we can see there's mix up. Let's see what it's doing. Okay, so that one sounds like it's changing the pitch of the bass note. So if we want to figure out what it is doing, so we just click on it right here and we can see what it's assigned to. So it's assigned to pad 3 pitch, pad 5 pitch, pad 4 pitch, pad 8 pitch, all of these different pitches. So right now our major bass drum is on pad 5. So I'm just going to take those off. Let's take all of these ones off. And now when we listen to it, that macro should be just changing the pitch of this guy, which is cool. Okay, the other thing about this right here is if I just have a bit of a slope, then as I move through that knob, jumps up a lot faster. It's just kind of how is the knob behaving in terms of speed. So let's just go back to a curve. There we go. All right, so mix it up is now assigned to the pitch. And I don't want this to be like the pitch of the song. I just want to kind of change this up over time with the project. So I'm going to put the automation back on. Okay, that's kind of cool. It's kind of random pitch changes in there. You can see how we're doing that with these little macros, and that's how you can adjust pretty much anything in here. So if I want to assign something new to this slot right here, I can go over to something like my effects. Let's just mess around with this lo-fi plugin here for a second. So all I need to do is go to this crush knob, rename this lo-fi, and you see that it changes over on the hardware as well. And then now what I can do is click this little button right here and go, let's play with the bit depth. And that's it. So now I've got this knob assigned to this lo-fi as well. And we can crank this to the middle. And then now watch what happens as I move this. It's going to move that knob as well. So we can now see that this is applied to this one macro. So that's how easy it is to assign macros. You can also just get rid of them right there. So that's pretty much a rundown of what you can do with these drum ones. But let's just put in a few more sounds into our little idea here. So we've got, this is our kit. That's a fun patch. Let's see what happens with that one. That's fun. We got this MG7 patch, mallet instruments. Oh, I like that one. Let's go to a bass patch. All right, and let's add another instrument. Go to, let's go to a lead. 30 leads. Oh, this sounds a little bit like a J3PO patch. If you haven't seen my Beats and Chats with J3PO, go watch it. I just posted it 2 videos ago, and I interview one of the greatest synth players in the world right now, and then we make a little jam at the end. It's totally worth watching. You gotta go check it out. I love the sound of these chords. I'm just gonna drag them right over to my little J3PO patch. Call this J3. I'll put MG7 on the left and my J3 patch on the right. Okay, now we need that synth lead that I was just talking about. Oh, this sounds so good. Okay, so we got this digital keystrokes. We'll try this one in there. All right, some really inspiring sounds in here for sure. Make sure you go check out the other demos that are going to be out there. There's going to be a lot, I'm sure. And make sure the software is right for you. And hit the subscribe button and the bell if you're new here. We'll see you in the next video.